Hello, Baddie Gang, and welcome back to the Bad Bitches Only podcast. I just arrived in my studio, really excited to give the first interview ever for our new podcast, and the woman I was interviewing actually just canceled. So I'm here wondering, what am I going to make a podcast on today? And there is a topic that feels alive for me, and this has come up in the past couple weeks. And I actually found out about it from a couple of clients of mine as their teenage daughters. I've heard it a few times. It's all been teenagers who have been bullied at school and have been dealing with shaming and judgment from their peers due to the number of people they have slept with. And if you are unfamiliar with what body count is and what this trend is currently on TikTok mostly, it is a trend of sharing how many people you have slept with, how many sexual partners you've had in your lifetime. And I realized that this is definitely happening in the younger generation right now, but the big picture of it is really something that women have dealt with for all of history. As I do my research, I discovered that this has been something happening in humanity for thousands and thousands of years, and that is women being judged for our sexuality. So that is really the bigger picture here. So I'm going to dive into this topic because, first of all, this trend is very triggering to me. And secondly, through my clients, from the women in my community, and I'm just saying women, but I do mean anyone who is in this position where they feel judged for their sexuality, how many sexual partners they've had for their past, and just for expressing in general this energy that is natural life force energy, that we've put a name on it and we've put these labels onto it and all of these limiting beliefs around this incredibly powerful, beautiful, and sacred energy that runs through our beings. So I am going to go off on a mini rant about this. Number one, first and foremost, especially for the younger people, younger women watching this or listening, if someone is going to judge you on the number of past partners you've had, and I do want to start this off by saying if you are religious or you are a virgin and it's really important to you to have your partner also be a virgin or also follow your religious beliefs that are against sexuality and having sex with multiple partners, then you don't count for this. But for everyone else, if you have a partner who is judging you, male or female, on your past, on how many partners you've had, and they need to know the exact amount, this is someone who has insecurities of their own, perhaps issues or trauma around their own sexuality, and someone who is likely not very emotionally mature. I have only in my life been asked once in many years of meeting men around the world what my body count was, and that was just recently by a 21-year-old. I thought it was so funny he asked me, and then I found out about this trend a couple weeks later. And when he asked me, I just thought to myself, wow, that's a really immature thing to ask someone, and I don't even honestly know my number because I don't feel like counting. And I also really don't agree with calling past lovers a body count. Calling someone a body is literally saying that it is just their body. That's what they offered you, their body. There was no emotional connection. There was nothing deeper than that. And for me in my life, even if I've had a very short-term love affair or sexual experience with someone, there is still always mutual respect, mutual respectful conversation and communication. There is a depth of connection happening within our emotional being, within our spiritual being. Even if you are really blocked off and having a lot of casual sex, you are still coming into contact with another being and your spirits are colliding. You are having this beautiful experience together, even if you don't view it that way. So another issue I have, side note on that, I do not agree with calling it body count. That is really degrading our past lovers. Number two, your worth and value as a woman, as a human, is not based on the number of people you have shared intimacy with. I feel silly for even having to say that, but some of the stories I've heard, there's just crazy judgment around this. So this is why I felt fired up and I wanted to create this podcast today. Like, really, what the fuck year are we living in where this is coming up? For hundreds and hundreds of years, especially due to religion, women have been shamed for even wanting to enjoy sex. That was seen and is seen as sinful in different parts of the world. And for a very long time, even with their husbands, to enjoy sex was seen as a sin. So we're coming into this world, even though we're modernized in many ways, we're coming with the trauma and the shame of our ancestors, of already feeling that shame around our pleasure. Why would we be born into this world able to experience so much pleasure, so much connection, so much depth if we weren't to, if it was sinful? People have pasts. I know I have a very big past. My sexual past is more explorative and colorful than pretty much anyone else I've ever met, and I'm proud of that. I am a Sagittarius rising. I don't know if I can blame it on that, but I've been to 67 countries. I've wanted to explore every single type of lifestyle there is, every single culture, every type of work and sexual experiences and life experiences. That's just who I am as a person. I love exploring, and I do so in a way that feels respectful and empowering for myself. And yes, that is absolutely possible. We could actually be having short-term sexual connections in a way that is healing and empowering to both parties or multiple parties, whoever's involved, where everyone walks away feeling good about themselves. But we have all these stories and shame around our sexuality, around what's good and what's bad and what's sinful and what's not. Even if it's not in your direct reality now, you likely grew up around religion or you have it in your DNA to feel the shame and this weirdness and the suppression and oppression and just strangeness around sexual energy, and that's where it comes from. So we feel in a way to have casual sex, it needs to be done in a disrespectful way for ourselves and for the other person. And I invite anyone who's listening to this to view this in a new way, to view this in a way that, for me, the highest spiritual experience we can have in this lifetime is sex. And that is because I deeply believe we manifested here to experience one another. I believe we're the universe, all different forms of source, all different faces of God, of goddess, of Shiva, of Shakti. And we came here to experience ourselves within another. Of course, not all casual connections are going to experience this, but I'm inviting you to look at it a little bit differently. Sex is so sacred, and it doesn't mean, for me, at least in my opinion, when I say it's sacred, it doesn't mean that it's meant for only one person. If that is your path, then I totally honor and respect that. For me, I see God in every partner, in every lover that I've had. And no matter what happened between us, I still really respect our time together and I have deep gratitude for it. If I started dating someone who wanted me to write out everyone I've been with and share the number with me, I would just leave that person, because I don't want someone in my life who judges others for their past. And I'm not going to apologize or make excuses for something I did, say, 8 years ago when I was in my early 20s and I was exploring, and life was, even as a teenager, like, sex is new and I was excited. We should be able to explore, of course, in a safe way, of course, in a respectful way, in a way, again, that feels empowering to us. But I don't believe there should be any judgment or shame around that. Like, think of how silly that is. Imagine you started dating someone and you're getting along so incredibly. Like, right away, off the bat, you're like, this is my person, and I don't want to put expectations onto it, but oh my God, this person's making me feel so good. And you're traveling together and you're working through conflict in a really beautiful way that allows you to both grow individually and together. And imagine 6 months in, your partner's like, hey, how many what's your body count? How many lovers have you had before me? And you're like, oh yeah, well, I explored a little bit in college and I had a threesome with like these two guys one time. And imagine he said, oh my God, you know what? You're everything I've ever looked for. Everything's been amazing. But the fact that you had a threesome with Bob and Billy 7 years ago, I just can't look past that. Bye. Is that someone that you would really want to be your husband or to be your life partner? For me, no, that's not someone that I want to raise my children or to have a family with or to just be my life partner or longtime partner. And of course, the hypocrisy of this is if you look up the body count trend, the majority of it are men saying that they want women who haven't slept with more than this number of people, and it's all low, 5 people or something, and yet they're saying they've slept with hundreds of women. So this is just old. It's so old, and it's crazy that here we are going into 2023, and this is still an issue, and it's coming up strongly in the collective. We are evolving in so many ways that blow my mind, and then it seems like we're going backwards in so many ways that also blows my mind. And know this, your intimate life, your sex life is yours. It is sacred. Not meant to be fucking broadcasted on TikTok. If I was walking down the street and someone stopped me and asked my body count, I would tell them to fuck off. The problem with this trend is not how many people women have slept with, but it's the fact that you're walking down the street and you're comfortable with and you think it's classy or okay or normal or healthy to tell strangers and then have it broadcasted on the internet how many people you've slept with. That's the issue. What you do intimately, I've explored a lot, and I'm not broadcasting that to everyone. I am for the purpose of this episode, but I don't need to tell you that. And honestly, I'd prefer not to, but I want to get this message out, and that is just part of it. A secure, powerful individual who has done the work within themselves is not going to judge you for your past. We are always learning. For me, my sexual experiences have allowed me to know exactly what I want. In a way, it's kind of out of my system. I had to explore. I'm a very explorative person, and I tried out different things, and now I know exactly what I want, and I'm ready to fully 110% commit to one person. But that was not the case a decade ago. I was in the mindset and in the energy of wanting to explore, and I don't regret that on any level. I think it's amazing. And I love when people explore. I have known women who've slept with hundreds and hundreds of men, and they are respectable, respectful, beautiful, classy, empowered women. We need to be able to look at sexual energy differently. We must heal our perspective collectively of the most sacred energy moving through our body. Of course, it's important to be discerning who we're sharing this intimate space with. Yes, absolutely. But if at some point, what we're calling now the slut era, if someone has gone through a slut era, which a lot of us have, I don't think that's anything to judge a person on. A relationship is about the here and now. It's about two people relating to one another, not about one person or the other person relating to others in the past. Of course, if there was trauma involved, if there was an STD involved, if there was something involved where it affects the current relationship, then that's obviously a discussion to be had. And after I posted about this on my social media, I had men saying all these wild judgments, writing me. And one reoccurring judgment that I had was if a woman has a high body count, then that means she isn't going to commit to you and she's going to be a cheater. And coming from me, I don't know my body count. It's definitely above average. And again, I wanted to explore my sexuality so that when I meet my king, I'm ready to fully commit to him and not wonder, oh, I wonder if I would like that. I wonder if I would have liked that more. Now I know what's out there and I can fully commit, and I'm not a liar and I'm not a cheater. I'm not a dishonest person just because I explored myself sexually. That is such a limited way of fucking thinking, and I'm just over hearing about this shit, and I can't believe it's happening at this time, really. We are living at a time on our planet where we get to change the way that we approach our sexuality, that we approach others, the way that we view ourselves and we view others, the way that we express ourselves. Our ancestors didn't have the space to have podcasts or to share in this way safely, to express themselves sexually, to express themselves authentically. I feel that it's our birthright and really our responsibility to step up and be better. Like, I think we can do much better than this body count trend. That is just, when I see it, I'm like, that is the stupidity of humanity right now. I apologize if you're part of it for saying that. I am not trying to judge, but I just think we can really do a lot better. We must heal our relationship to our own sexual energy and our judgments of others' sexual energy. I deeply believe this will change the whole world. There's so much sexual suppression, judgment, and shame in humanity right now that if we can individually step up and do better, it's going to create this wave. And I think if you were born at this time on the planet in a space, in an environment where you're safe to express yourself in this way, then that, again, I feel is your responsibility. Let's break through this old toxic way of viewing the most sacred thing on this planet. And it is the most sacred. It's literally how we exist. And putting this pressure that women can only have one partner was, of course, created from religion as a way to control us. Because sexual energy, especially coming from a woman who has this powerful creatrix, creative energy within her to literally give birth to another human, of course, her sexual energy, her life force energy is powerful. That's why these rules and these sins were created to control us, to limit us. So as a woman, if you're listening to this, I encourage you to own your sexual energy as your own. It's not anyone else's to judge or to say anything about what you're doing in your own bedroom, in your own bed, or in someone else's bed, behind closed doors. It's really no one's business, and it's super unhealthy to be broadcasting your intimate activities online. And just to let you know, I polled my community of almost 120,000 people, and thousands of people voted on this. And I asked men specifically, but I saw a lot of women also. Everyone just voted on this. And I asked if you care about body count. And over 80% said that they do not care about it. So if you're someone younger, really big into TikTok and being judged or seeing all of these videos on this trend, I just want to let you know that the majority of people in the world, at least in more conscious communities, as I like to think, I call in men especially who are ready to step up and really see sex as sacred and see the feminine energy as sacred rather than shameful, and the feminine body. For them, they do not judge people on their past or in this way. Choose to be a strong woman, a strong individual in this world, because there's a lot of dumb fuckers out there. And I'm just being real. This is the Bad Bitches Only podcast. There's a lot of dumb fuckers out there. Don't let them bring you down. I was heavily, heavily bullied, physically beaten in high school. I stopped high school halfway through grade 10 and finished at home. Thank God that was an option, because it got so bad. And looking back, and I see these people, I'm home right now in Canada, and I see what they're doing with their lives in comparison to what I'm doing. And I just think, wow, I'm very glad that I never let those dumb people, those really angry, unhealed people who obviously had a lot of pain and anger inside of them from their life, from whatever was happening at home, that they projected onto me. I'm so glad that I didn't let them destroy me, because there were certain days back then where I felt absolutely destroyed. For a year of schooling, I was going home crying every single day. My dad even told me, just stop going, Krystal, because my parents couldn't handle seeing me like that. So I've been there, and I know how it feels to really care what other people think, But at the end of the day, people are only seeing you from their reality, and many people have a very limited reality. And they live in a world of black and white, right and wrong, wrong and sinful. And is that a world that you want to live in? I think we can open our minds and open our hearts a little bit more than this. It honestly breaks my heart to hear the stories that I've heard of young women feeling impure and dirty and embarrassed and shameful because people are judging them for having sex with 4 partners, which to me is really nothing. And that might just be where I grew up. Canadians, what I've seen around my travels, we're pretty sexual people. I've noticed that in comparison to even Americans. Maybe it's the environments I put myself in, but speaking to other Canadians as well, we are definitely pretty laid back and open-minded. I am definitely a very sexually open person. I'm a very sexual being. I came into this world just very sexual, wanting to discover more of this energy within myself, and then as I got older, with others as well. And I don't believe there's anything wrong with that at all. Now, I'm not saying to go sleep around with everyone. As women, we do hold our partner's energies, but I'm all for having slut era, learning things about yourself. That is how we learn about ourselves. We try new things, we figure out what feels good, we figure out what doesn't feel good for ourselves. Of course, play safe out there and be smart about it, always safe about it, but just know that there is a higher, more mature way of looking at things. And I hope this helps anyone who is affected by this trend or who has been judged for their sexuality in their lives. And I will say, when I was younger and not in a very healthy space around my sexuality, and I was more so looking for attention and trying to find attention through sex, I attracted very different individuals, very different lovers, than when I decided to own my sexuality and own who I am. And when you do that, you just filter out the people who are going to judge you, because they're not going to sit there and waste their energy judging you when they can see it's not going to affect you. So be in your power, be comfortable with your sexuality, get comfortable with this energy on your own. And that's how you own it, when you fully know that it is your own, not anyone else's. Okay, my loves, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I will be posting episodes weekly of the Bad Bitches Only, and I'm really excited for this new adventure with you, and I will see you in the next episode.